My name is Dana Durham. This is for Accounting 6650. This is presentation number 2 on whistleblowers. The whistleblower that I chose to present today is James Alderson. He was a whistleblower who revealed corporate hospitals defrauding the government. Mr. James Alderson was placed in an ethical dilemma early in his career with North Valley Hospital. One of the executives came in and asked him to prepare 2 sets of books. He said he wouldn't do it. He said that was fraudulent and he wouldn't do it. Unfortunately, a few days later, he was fired for standing up for what he thought was right. His family was supportive of him throughout the whole ordeal, from getting fired in the beginning to filing suit. They were supportive through the whole thing. His son even gave him a pen that had one purpose. It was only to be used to sign the settlement papers when the case was completed. Mr. Alderson, when he stood up to Mr. Elder and said, the executive that had told him to prepare 2 sets of books, he stood up to him and he said, "No, I won't do it." And he thought that was the end. He didn't think that he needed to do anything else. And all of a sudden he found himself terminated. Had he known that his job was in jeopardy, he could have had the opportunity to go to the company's ethics officer and get that situation reported. After Mr. Alderson was fired, he became more and more frustrated. First, he couldn't find a job, and then when he found a job, he hated it, and it made him mad because he realized that he had stood up for what was right, and he was being punished even though he had done what was right. And so he decided to file a wrongful termination suit against the hospital. In that wrongful termination suit, he demanded copies of those reserve reports that was the second set of books from the hospital. In those reserve reports, he found evidence to prove that the hospital wasn't reporting correctly, that they were defrauding the government. After researching these reserve reports, he decided to talk to Dale Jessup. Dale Jessup is a former hospital administrator prior to when Quorum took over managing the hospital. And he told him about these reserve reports, and he also told him about what had happened to him being asked to prepare these second set of books and then being fired. Dale Jessup agreed that it sounded fraudulent, and he's the one that actually suggested that James file a qui tam case. A qui tam case is where an individual can file suit on behalf of the government, and then the government can look at the evidence and decide if they want to pursue the case. Mr. Alderson spent many hours. He spent a lot of money, and finally all of his efforts came to fruition. In 1997, the government raided hospitals in 6 different states and finally ended up indicting 3 of the company's top executives for cost reporting fraud. This story is the perfect example of a moral dilemma. Mr. Alderson stood up immediately for what he knew was right. And then, even after he was fired, he could have let it go, but he didn't. He knew that it was wrong. And so, because he had the will to continue to fight for what was right, he endured ridicule, trial, financial and emotional hardship. But he did it because he knew that it was right. And that, to me, is moral courage. To stand up for what you know is right, to face what you have to face, and to come out in the end with your pride and your morals intact. He showed all who will see and listen that anyone can stand up for their morals. It won't be easy, but it can and should be done. Thank you.